It's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction. The talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. You know, guys, and today we have by far definitely a person of distinction. We're going to be talking to Walter Oleksy, talking about his new book, Aging Well 2020 in Caregiving, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And just so you guys are aware, Walter was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business, Author Reputation Press Publishing. You can find them at authorreputationpress.com for more info. And without further ado, we have Walter on the line with us. So, let's just jump right in. Walter, first and foremost, thank you very much for being a guest on People of Distinction. How are you today?
Thank you. Well, I'm fine. I live in a suburb of Chicago called Glenview.
Great. Well, welcome to our show. Thank you. Now, just a brief thing from my audience. I mean, what's wonderful, again, we're going to be discussing Aging Well 2020 in Caregiving. I mean, right off the bat, the title gives so much already. I mean, who doesn't want to age well, right? Given today's society and, of course, how things are going. And we have Walter on the line with us to go ahead and share that. So, Walter, tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, I think it's the newest and probably the most comprehensive book on both aging well and caring for the elderly. I cared for my mother when she was 80 years old, and it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do, because like a lot of old people, they're self-centered and they're very difficult to please. But you got to be patient, and I tell about the experiences I had there. Most books on aging have been written by people who are in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, but they don't really write about their own experience aging because they haven't started aging yet. So my book tells about my experiences helping the aging and living well, and also it includes the very wise experiences of a woman called Avis Carlson, who wrote a weekly column for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on aging, and she wrote that when she started writing it when she was in her young 80s. So I'm almost 90, and she was in her 80s. So we're writing about the subjects of aging well and caregiving from what I call the old horse's mouth. It's very useful information. She writes on identity problems of the aged, self-esteem problems of the aged, problems of living alone, and the pros of aging, the freedoms that come from aging, the acceptance of aging. She talks about sex and the aging person, and how aging helps you to achieve religious growth. And we both tell about the important thing of laughing at life and accepting the fact that one of these days we're going to go. So I also include some humorous people talked about aging, like Woody Allen. Woody Allen said, "I don't mind dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens." So
wonderful.
I also include a lot of new information, new discoveries on Alzheimer's care, care for dementia, and then a lot of it is also how to care for the aging, how to age well in home, and also in nursing homes. So that's kind of the gist of the book. It's very helpful and very current, and it's from people, myself and Avis Carlson, who who know from first experience on these two subjects.
Absolutely. Yeah, hearing you discuss, Walter, I mean, it definitely sounds like a very informative book that way. And, listening to you talk and talking about some of the nuances that you approach and discuss in the book, it's interesting because it's fascinating. That is a topic that we don't spend enough time really thinking about, or at least I don't. Speaking just for myself, it's not something that I really ever take the time to stop and think about. And and I would assume that the majority of the people listening, and really just the people across the board in our human family, that way we don't spend a lot of time thinking about the aging process and taking care of the elderly in our community, or even within our family that way, or going into the different nuances in which the care can be given in a much better way. So it's a fascinating topic and really a very informative book, just from hearing you talk. So thank you so much for bringing that to our table. I mean, the next question that I really would love to ask, Walter, is obviously this is a book that you stated the majority of the people that have written books about aging and about caregiving that way are generally within 40 to 50 or maybe 40 to 60 years old. So they're still young. They still haven't necessarily acquired all of the wisdom that I'm sure you have that way. What was the inspiration behind creating Aging Well 2020 in caregiving?
Well, it really comes from Avis Carlson. She's no longer living. She was the mother of a roommate of mine in Glenview, in Evanston, Illinois. And she wrote about aging, like I said, for the newspaper, St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And she wrote a book summarizing all those articles. And that's long been out of print. And I thought that information is still current, still pertinent today. She was a very wise woman, and her experiences in aging are the same as they are today. And so I thought that information needs to be retold.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I wrote the book. And then I thought we need an update on the experiences that she had, and so that's when I added my experiences to it.
Perfect.
I'm a former Chicago Tribune investigative reporter, so I have a good background in research and interviewing people.
Beautiful. Yeah, and hearing you say that, I mean, this is a universal topic, right? So it's really not, it'll never become outdated. It can always be updated, but at the end of the day, I mean, we're all going to go through this aging process, and this material will always have relevance, within our human family that way. So, perfect. Now, just for my own curiosity, of course, I'm sure there's a lot of different layers and a lot of different things that are discussed in the book. Any particular tips or any particular, little tidbits of information that you can give us just to kind of give a little bit more information there, Walter?
Yes. I think that one of the main things you can do in caregiving is, whether you're getting paid to give care to some elderly, or they're in home, or you're a relative and you're not getting paid, the main thing is to be patient, to love, care, and be patient. And I think that's why most people go into the occupation of caring for the elderly. They want to help them. And I just think that from my experience, most important to be patient. I'll tell you, one of the reasons I finally had to give up caring for my mother after 2.5 years, I had to jump. When she asked for something, I had to do it immediately. So one day during a blizzard, she asked me to go to the drugstore and get a refill of what she called her nerve medication. It was probably Librium or Libria or something. And then go to the grocery store on my way after the drugstore. So I did both errands in a blizzard. One of the Chicago blizzards, really bad.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
When I got back with the groceries and the medication, she looked at the groceries and she said, she complained. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, well, I asked for sauerkraut with caraway seeds. I mean, that was the camel, that broke the camel's back.
There it is. Couldn't do it anymore.
She couldn't be pleased with plain sauerkraut. I said, Mom, you never told me that you wanted sauerkraut with caraway seeds. But that'll give the listener a little example of how, your patience might be strained. And so my sister had cared for my mother for 3 years and gave up. My brother never cared. I mean, he never took on that job. So we finally found her a nursing home. And so it's patience. In hindsight, I thought maybe I should have been a little more patient. But the sauerkraut, that did it.
Sauerkraut was the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
There's a lot of humor in the book. It's not technical. It's not full of gobbledygook from a professor. It's what I call straight from old horses' mouths.
There it is. Perfect. Well, there you have it, guys. Walter Oleksy talking about Aging Well 2020 in Caregiving. Again, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Walter, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic hearing you talk, right? And, patience, as you stated, not only in caring for the elderly, just in general. I mean, the old adage, patience is a virtue, just continues to ring in my mind in terms of the relevance to what you're speaking of. And, I think that's something that we can all learn, whether, again, it's a paid job that we're doing or if it's just family ones that we're caring for. That is a universal message that we can all get behind and we can all truly understand there. So it's so relevant that way. Thank you, Walter, so much for it. Now, last question on this book, because I know we have another book that we also want to get to, and we'll touch up on that in a second. If there's one particular message, Walter, that you really want our audience here at People of Distinction to be able to take from this interview that they have to know about Aging Well 2020 and caregiving, what would you say that message is?
Well, I would hope that the book is available from Barnes & Noble, but they have a couple of older versions of some of my books, and to really get the newest edition, they should look at authorreputationpress.com.
Absolutely. Of course. Yes. authorreputationpress.com. That's going to be Author Reputation Press that is representing Walter Oleksy with this book. So thank you very much for that, Walter. Now, Walter, going into your next book, because there's another one that you have written, again, similar, a relatable topic this way, discussing Princess Diana, right? And again, we know the name, larger than life personality that way. So the book is called Princess Diana 2020, A Quest for Love. Give us a brief synopsis on that book there, Walter, please.
Yes. Well, most other books that have been published on Princess Diana focus on one aspect of her character and her life as a person and a princess. I put it all together. There are a lot of pieces of a puzzle to her life, and I put all these pieces together, and I think for the first time. And what I've discovered is that her main focus was a search for love. Her father didn't love her, didn't want her. He wanted a boy. Her husband didn't love her, and he told her that even before they married. She thought she could win him over. But he was in love with Camilla Parker Jones, Parker Bowles. But a lot of people who read about Princess Diana don't know that he was also having an affair with another woman besides Parker Bowles. This was Lady Diana Tran. She was a dress designer. She was from Australia, came to London in 1972, and she was introduced to Charles at a ball in that year, and they were having an affair from 72 to 74. So she was competition for Diana during her marriage.
Wow.
And Charles finally left Lady Tran to focus mainly on Parker Bowles, but we learned quite a bit about her in my book. I also tell a lot about the men in Diana's life. I think we learn about her seeking love by there were 13 men, different men, that she loved, and some of them loved her, and some of them unfortunately just used her and got money out of their experiences with her. So I talk about the 13 men, and there was one man near the end of her life that she truly loved above all the others, and he was a doctor. He was a Pakistani doctor, heart and lung surgeon, and they were together for 2 years, but he was unwilling to marry her because of the media always hounding her. And he was a private person, and he thought if they did marry and have children, neither he nor his children would get any relief from the media. So, but strangely enough, she started taking up with the Egyptian billionaire Todi Fayed, and she did that mainly hopefully to make the doctor jealous. Instead, he thought, well, thank God she's finally found somebody who can look after her, love her, and accept the media attention that he was unwilling to give her. But strangely enough, shortly, a few hours before she took that ride in Paris with Todi Fayed, the doctor phoned her, and he apparently was going to try to reconcile how they could marry, and she unfortunately never received that phone call. So she was still hoping that they would reconcile while she was driving passenger in that car in Paris. So timing was unfortunate for her all the way around.
Absolutely.
And so I think viewers or the listeners would like to know all these things which nobody else has written about.
Yeah, no, I mean, just hearing you discuss a lot of these facts, I mean, it's new information, to me. And growing up, of course, as I stated before, I mean, Princess Diana, it was a huge name, and there was so much information that had come out that I had become privy to. But a lot of these new facts that you're bringing out are completely new to me. So there's obviously so much to be gained in that book. And guys, lastly, again, we're on the line with Walter Oleksy. We discussed his first book, Aging Well 2020 in Caregiving, and then we just finished discussing Princess Diana 2020, A Quest for Love. Not only that, guys, that you can find those books and many other biographies that Walter has written and will continue to write, because I'm sure he has more in the canon. You can find more information about him and his work at his personal website, walteroleksy.com. That's going to be WalterOleksy.com. Walter, just going into our closing reflections here, as we always do with people of distinction when we're finishing with our authors. The first book, Aging Well 2020 in Caregiving, as you so eloquently put, I mean, this is a book that is written from an older person's perspective, and the wisdom that you've been able to acquire through your experience and your direct experience and other authors that you worked with in collaboration in terms of viewing their work that they've written is so profound and so applicable this way that, again, it's something that will never, no pun intended, never grow old that way, right? It's something that will always be relevant. And what I find amazing about it is, again, it's techniques that we can truly use, because this is something that we're all going to face. Whatever age we are in the spectrum of life, this is going to be something that will be relevant and applicable to our lives and to the people that we come into contact with. So thank you so much, Walter, for bringing that to our table today and educating our guests here on People of Distinction with that information. Truly appreciate you bringing that to our table.
Thank you. You're terrific. You did a wonderful job. And I want to wish everybody listening good health. And please stay at home until this virus is over.
Wonderfully said, of course.